Tonight, they die. Every front page screamed it, from Boston to Berlin. Sacco and Vanzetti, the execution of the century, a global spectacle. Western Union had rushed in 18 extra telegraph lines overnight just to handle the flood from foreign press. The world was watching. For 7 years, the case had consumed nations. Not just a trial, a battle over class, fear, and the soul of America. And by now, August 22nd, 1927, every state court closed its doors. But their defense wasn't done. While headlines screamed their fate across breakfast tables, their lawyers were already fighting it. Direct pleas to Washington, a last-ditch fight to steal some time. Sacco's wife, Rosina, and Vanzetti's sister, Luigia, arrive at the prison's death house. A final visit under strict control. No hugs, no privacy. Just a brief, silent goodbye under the watch of guards. The women pressed their faces to the bars. Hands reached through the bars. A hand clasp was all that was allowed. 60 minutes later, it was over. They were led away in tears. Somewhere between the last handshake and fading footsteps, Sacco and Vanzetti put pen to paper. Together, they wrote their final statement. A letter to their friends, not a plea, not surrender, a manifesto. They acknowledged the end, the near certain failure of their legal fight, but they refused to call it defeat. They framed it as something larger. 2 of us will die, they wrote, but our ideals will live by millions. A defiant farewell shaped by faith, to be remembered not as criminals, but as martyrs. The judge who signed their death warrants saw them differently. Anarchist bastards, he had called them. Nicola, Sacco, and Bartolomeo Vanzetti, a 36-year-old shoemaker and father, a 39-year-old fish peddler, Italian immigrants, caught in the storm of the Red Scare or with real blood on their hands. Debate still rages a century later. Back in 1920, 2 payroll guards ambushed in the street. Gunfire. $15,000 gone. Both men dead. Dozens saw it happen. Descriptions were vague. Foreign, maybe Italian. A dark car. That getaway car led police to a suspect, a known radical. They set a trap, but when the moment came, it wasn't him who showed up. It was Sacco and Vanzetti, armed, carrying anarchist pamphlets, and Italian. Close enough, the cops decided. They're arrested on suspicion. What followed? 7 days of interrogation, no formal charges. They didn't even know what it was about. They thought it was their politics, so they lied about meetings, friends, movements. Lawyers said they weren't hiding a crime. They feared deportation. But in the courtroom, those lies became evidence. They had nothing else. No confession, no solid eyewitness, no conclusive weapon match. A cap said to be Sacco's didn't fit, but ideology mattered more than facts. The prosecution painted them as dangerous radicals. Newspapers followed suit, and the judge, he told the jury to be true Americans. After just hours of deliberation, guilty. Death by electric chair. They spent 7 years fighting the verdict. New evidence emerged. Experts challenged the ballistics. Alibi witnesses. Even another man confessed. Still, every appeal denied. And now they sat side by side in the death house, a wall between them, just half a day left. Although the world watched Sacco and Vanzetti, they weren't alone in the death house. All 3 cells were filled, and in one of fate's cruelest twists, the third held Celestino Medeiros, the man who had confessed to the very crime they were about to die for. A confession that changed nothing. The courts refused to reopen the case. The executions went on. 3 immigrants, 3 cells, same fate, same hour. Each faced the end in his own way. Medeiros, chain-smoking, blank-eyed, silent. Vanzetti, calm, almost serene, writing a final letter to his father. Sacco, pacing in circles, burning himself out. He was a shadow of himself. His uniform hung loose, his face hollow. In the weeks before, he'd turned his body into protest, a hunger strike that stripped him down to bone. Too frail, some said, even for the chair. Prison doctors noted the risk, a dangerous loss of salt and water, the very elements that carry electricity, so they had to raise the voltage to make sure the current would do its work. Father Murphy entered the death house to offer last rites, final prayers, final salvation, but all three refused. They preferred to die as they had lived, the priest said, outside the pale. Still, he made himself available. If they call on me before the execution, he told reporters, I will hear their confessions. I will give them communion. Attorney Michael Musmano visited the death house. He found the men calm, but heavy with resignation. Depressed and ready for death, he said. They didn't speak of hope. No power on earth will save us now, they said. Sacco begged to see his wife one last time. Vanzetti spoke of his sister. She had come all the way from Italy, and now her final memory would be this: gray walls and steel bars. The warden, unusually generous, allowed their loved ones to return twice more before nightfall. The chair was ready, voltage tested, straps oiled and checked. Official report, in good working order. But Sacco still posed a problem. His hunger strike had left him frail, so the prison doctor stepped in. He showed Sacco the tools used to force feed him before and made the choice clear. You know I can use them if I want to. He didn't argue and drank a quart of hot beef tea, just enough to make a difference. The city braced for chaos. Charleston prison became a fortress. At 7 sharp, the lockdown began. Tear gas stocked, riot gear ready. Patrolmen, state troopers, railroad cops, 800 strong. All bridges closed, every street barricaded. A mile-wide freeze. No cars, no pedestrians, no exceptions. Spotlights ringed the prison. Machine guns posted every 20 yards. On the river behind, police boats prowled the black water, flares and floodlights sweeping the shore. All gas stations and corner stores were shut. Nothing left to chance. Inside the death house, stillness. The warden logged the men as detached and composed. Outside, Boston roared. In the city's old North End, Boston's immigrant-packed quarter, hundreds of people crowded along the streets. They threatened to march on the State House and Bunker Hill. Police crushed it before it moved an inch. Back at Charleston, thousands crowded the barricades, the last layer between protest and the chair. Officers on foot couldn't hold the line, so the horses came. Mounted police charged into the crowd. Screams tore through the dark. People fell. Some were dragged away in cuffs. The city was a powder keg. At 11:03 p.m. sharp, Governor Fuller issued his final word. They will die at midnight. Clemency denied. Every last-minute attempt rejected. The execution would proceed as scheduled. His timing was deliberate. With just 57 minutes to go, the governor ensured there would be no time left. No way for the defense to draft another stay. No court left to hear it. No judge awake to stop what came next. Residents were warned to stay indoors, but some couldn't look away. Crowds filled windows and rooftops. Entire households gathered to watch, some clutching children in their arms. Then came the breach. Despite the overwhelming police presence, some protesters slipped through the lines, right up to the prison entrance. They handed a sealed envelope to a guard and walked off. A 2-page letter to the warden. Its contents never made public. 10 minutes to midnight. Official witnesses gathered in the warden's office. Doctors, the chaplain, the state's chosen press representative. Only one reporter allowed inside. Just one version of what the world would hear. He was briefed on what he'd see and what role he would play. Meanwhile, Warden Hendry spoke to waiting reporters. I informed them it was my duty to tell them they would die shortly after midnight, he said, that their lawyers had informed me that they had done all they could and failed. The chaplain stepped out of the execution chamber, 1 minute to midnight. His quiet departure marked the end of mercy and the beginning of the state's machinery. The men had refused him again. They would die as they had lived, firm in their cause, alone in their convictions. Medeiros, first in line, had just been declared dead when Sacco was strapped in second. He shouted, "Viva la anarquia! Long live anarchy! Farewell, my wife and child, and all my friends." A cry to his son Dante, his daughter Ines, and everyone listening. His voice faltered, but he added one more. "Farewell, mother." Despite concerns about his hunger strike, the chair did its job. The current hits clean, no complications. At 12:19 a.m., Nicola Sacco was pronounced dead. Just a minute later, Vanzetti enters, calm, steady. He shakes the warden's hand. "I want to thank you for everything you have done for me, warden." Then he turns to the witnesses. "I wish to tell you that I am innocent and that I never committed any crime. I am innocent of all crime, not only of this, but of all. I am an innocent man." He reportedly adds, "I forgive some of my enemies." At 12:26 a.m., Bartolomeo Vanzetti was pronounced dead. 3 gone within half an hour. America called it justice. But was it? Drop your verdict in the comments and help me grow by subscribing for free so I can drop a new case every week.